You can lose attraction with one sentence, not because you lied, but because you gave away your power. If you're a man in your late 30s, 40s, or 50s, you've probably lived this. You're on a date, the vibe is good, she's leaning in, you feel that charge. Then you say something you thought was honest and mature, her face changes, the air goes flat. You drive home replaying the moment, and you can't explain why it died. Here's the truth most men miss. Women are not only listening to what you say, they are reading what your words reveal about your frame. Some lines signal strength, self-respect, and emotional leadership. Other lines quietly scream insecurity, neediness, and lack of control. And once those signals land, you can't unring the bell. Tonight, we fix that. I'm going to show you the exact phrases that kill attraction instantly and the Stoic replacements that guard your frame instead. No gamey scripts, no corny tricks. Just clean language that keeps you centered and keeps her interested. You will know what never to say, what to say instead, and why it works. So you stop donating power in conversation and start holding it calmly. If you're new here, hit subscribe. This channel is for men who want quiet confidence, not noise. If you're tired of over-explaining, over-apologizing, and talking yourself out of chemistry you already earned, this video is your reset. Say less, mean more. Protect your frame. Let's get into it. Number 1, I'm not good enough for you. On the surface, saying this might feel humble. You might think you're showing honesty, vulnerability, maybe even complimenting her. But to a woman, especially one who values strength and stability in a man, those 5 words don't sound humble. They sound like you've already put yourself below her. And once you place yourself there, it's almost impossible to climb back up in her eyes. Let me paint a picture. David, 47, had just started dating Laura, 44. They'd gone on 3 dates, all going well. On their 4th, they're walking along the pier, sunset behind them, laughter flowing easily. Out of nowhere, David says, "You know, I'm probably not good enough for you." He meant it as a sweet, self-deprecating joke. But Laura stopped smiling. In that one sentence, David told her he saw himself as unworthy and that she should see him the same way. Here's the thing. Attraction lives in the space between mutual respect and curiosity. When you frame yourself as less than, you kill that tension. You turn yourself from a man she's discovering into a project she has to manage. That's not romantic. It's exhausting. From a Stoic perspective, this is about control over your own value. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Your sense of worth should never be outsourced to another person's opinion, no matter how much you like them. When you tell a woman you're not good enough, you're basically handing her the pen and asking her to rewrite your value. Women are deeply attuned to confidence, not arrogance, but the calm certainty of a man who knows what he brings. And that's why this phrase is so destructive. It communicates that you don't see your own value, so why should she? Instead, you need to own your imperfections without apologizing for them. If you want to acknowledge a gap, frame it with pride and self-awareness. For example, instead of, "I'm not good enough for you," David could have said, "You've got great taste if you're sitting here with me." It keeps the energy playful while still holding his ground. Let's flip the perspective. Imagine Laura had said to David, "I'm probably not good enough for you." Odds are, he wouldn't suddenly feel more attracted, he'd feel the energy drop. The principle works both ways. Attraction thrives on the belief that you're both worthy partners choosing each other, not one person feeling lucky to be tolerated. If you struggle with self-worth, it's better to work on it before and during dating rather than using a woman's approval to patch the holes. David could have focused on his health, career goals, and passions, the things that naturally boost confidence from the inside out. When a man moves through life with purpose, women notice. And when he communicates that purpose without apology, it changes the dynamic completely. So here's your takeaway. Never put yourself beneath a woman in words or actions. Meet her as an equal, not a fan. If you truly believe she's out of your league, that belief will bleed into everything you do, your posture, your tone, your choices, and she will feel it. Drop this into the comments if you've ever caught yourself saying something like this and you're done with it. I own my worth. Because once you stop giving away your value, you stop chasing approval. And when you stop chasing, you start attracting in a way that feels effortless to you and irresistible to her. The next phrase we're about to cover might seem like an innocent expression of affection, but it's actually one of the quickest ways to make her feel pressured and pull away, and you'll want to know exactly why. Number 2. I miss you so much, it hurts. On paper, this sounds romantic. It's the kind of thing you'd see in a movie, whispered in a dramatic rain scene. But in real life, especially for a man who wants to project strength and stability, this line can backfire hard. Here's why. When you say, I miss you so much, it hurts, you're telling her your emotional state is tied directly to her presence. You're not just expressing that you miss her, you're saying you can't feel whole without her. And while you might think that level of vulnerability is attractive, what she hears is dependency. From a psychological standpoint, attraction thrives on polarity. She's drawn to your presence because you have a life, a purpose, and a grounded energy that exists whether she's there or not. But the moment you make her the source of your emotional stability, that polarity collapses. You shift from being the man she's inspired by to the man she has to manage emotionally. Stoic philosophy has a clear answer for this. Epictetus taught, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Apply that to relationships, and you see the core truth. The less you need someone to complete you, the more you can appreciate them freely. Missing someone is normal, but letting that longing consume you communicates lack, not abundance. Let's break it down further. When you tell a woman you miss her so much it hurts, you're unintentionally creating pressure. You're implying that she now holds the responsibility for your emotional pain, and if she doesn't rush to fix it, she's somehow failing you. That's not romance. That's emotional debt. And most high-value women aren't looking to take on that role. A Stoic approach would be to acknowledge the feeling without being consumed by it. Instead of using language that frames you as emotionally helpless, express your appreciation for her in a way that still conveys independence. Something like, I was thinking about you today, keeps it warm, personal, but without the weight of neediness. You're sharing connection, not dependence. This doesn't mean you have to act like you don't care. The point isn't to suppress genuine emotion, it's to channel it in a way that maintains your frame. Missing someone can be expressed through action, not just words. Spend that energy investing in yourself, your passions, your friendships. When she sees that your life continues to grow and thrive, even when she's not around, she'll feel drawn to rejoin it. Think about it this way. If you're constantly telling her you're in pain without her, you're turning your relationship into a rescue mission. But if you show her that you miss her in the sense that you genuinely enjoy her presence while still being fulfilled without it, you're inviting her into a life that's already rich and stable. That's far more appealing. So, instead of, I miss you so much, it hurts, try something like, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Same core feeling, but now you're projecting anticipation rather than absence. You're telling her she's wanted, not that you're falling apart without her. Here's the takeaway. Longing isn't the problem, how you frame it is. High-value women respond to men who can hold their emotions with strength. When you master that, you can express affection without tipping into neediness. Drop this in the comments if you're ready to make that shift. I lead my emotions. Because the man who leads his emotions leads the frame, and the man who leads the frame never has to beg for attraction. Now, The next phrase might seem like an honest attempt to repair a mistake, but it's actually one of the quickest ways to hand over all your power, and you'll want to avoid it at all costs. Number 3. Please give me another chance. Those words might feel like the right move in the heat of regret. You messed up, you lost her, and you want her back. So you go to her, hat in hand, and plead. But here's the hard truth. The moment you say, please give me another chance, you've just confirmed that you've given away all of your power. Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Mark, 42, had been dating Jenna, 39, for about 6 months. Things had been rocky for the last few weeks. A couple of arguments, some distance, and then one night she says she needs space. Mark panics. 2 days later, he's standing at her door telling her, please give me another chance. I can change. To Mark, it sounded like humility and love. To Jenna, it sounded like desperation, and desperation is never attractive. Why? Because in that moment, Mark wasn't showing her a man who had reflected, grown, and rebuilt his sense of self. He was showing her a man who had tied his identity to her approval and couldn't function without it. From a psychological standpoint, when you beg for another chance, you're putting her in the position of judge and you in the position of defendant. The power dynamic shifts entirely in her favor, and once she's holding the gavel, it's almost impossible to get back to a place of balanced attraction. This is where Stoic thinking comes in. Epictetus taught, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If a relationship ends, the strongest move you can make is to focus on your own conduct, your self-respect, your growth, your next chapter, not on trying to rewrite someone else's decision in the moment of emotion. The irony is, the more you plead, the more you confirm to her that she made the right choice to leave. If she was already questioning the relationship because she felt you lacked strength or boundaries, watching you beg only reinforces that belief. Instead of pleading, the stronger move is to acknowledge the ending with calm respect. That doesn't mean you slam the door in her face. It means you respond in a way that communicates you value yourself enough to walk away with dignity. A simple, I understand, I wish you the best, followed by real action in your own life, says far more than any plea ever could. Now, this doesn't mean reconciliation is impossible. In fact, many couples do reconnect, but it usually happens after time apart, where both people have space to grow and miss each other from a place of strength, not weakness. If Mark had taken that route, focusing on rebuilding his own life instead of chasing Jenna's approval, the dynamic would have been entirely different if she ever reached back out. It's also worth remembering that your value doesn't vanish when someone walks away. Mark's mistake was thinking Jenna was the gatekeeper to his worth. The truth is, his worth was always his to own, but by begging, he handed her the keys and asked her to unlock it for him. So here's the takeaway. Never frame yourself as a man who needs to be granted another chance like a favor. Be the man who knows his value, learns from his mistakes, and moves forward with purpose. If she sees that growth and wants back in, it will be because she's drawn to your strength, not because you begged her into it. If you've ever caught yourself pleading like this and you're ready to break the habit, drop this in the comments. I walk with dignity. Because the man who walks with dignity never has to beg to be chosen. And speaking of giving away power, the next phrase might sound like a heartfelt confession, but it can actually make her feel trapped and suffocated faster than you realize. Number 4. I don't know what I'd do without you. On the surface, this sounds like the ultimate romantic line. It's something you'd expect to hear in a love song or a dramatic movie scene. But in real life, especially if your goal is to maintain attraction and respect, this phrase sends the wrong message entirely. Here's the problem. I don't know what I'd do without you doesn't communicate love, it communicates dependency. It tells her that your sense of stability, your direction, and maybe even your identity depend on her presence in your life. Instead of feeling cherished, Many women feel the weight of that statement as pressure. From a psychological standpoint, attraction is built on mutual choice, two independent people choosing to be together. The moment you tell her you can't function without her, you remove the idea of choice and replace it with obligation. And obligation isn't sexy, it feels heavy. It changes the dynamic from "I want to be with you" to "I have to be here because you'll fall apart without me." Stoic philosophy has a very different approach to love and attachment. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Freedom here isn't about physical space, it's about emotional independence. In a Stoic relationship, both people are whole individuals first, and their connection is built on mutual respect, not emotional survival. When you say you can't live without her, you're giving her a job she never signed up for, to be your emotional life support, and that's exhausting. Even if she cares deeply for you, that kind of neediness slowly erodes attraction over time. Instead, the most powerful position you can hold in a relationship is this: you want her, but you don't need her to survive. You could say, "I love having you in my life," or "You make my life better." Those phrases express affection without attaching your entire sense of self-worth to her presence. Think of it like this. Imagine she's dating two men. One tells her, "I don't know what I'd do without you." The other tells her, "I'd still live a full life without you, but I'd always want you in it." The second man communicates strength, security, and a clear choice, and choice is far more attractive than dependence. This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions or play cold. The Stoic mindset doesn't reject connection, it simply refuses to let love turn into a cage. The man who can stand alone but chooses partnership is far more appealing than the man who clings out of fear of being alone. And here's the irony: the less you depend on her for your emotional stability, the more she's likely to want to be around you, because you become a source of positive energy instead of a drain on hers. Your words matter. "I don't know what I'd do without you" might feel harmless, but it's a subtle confession that you're handing over control of your happiness. And when you hand over control, you also hand over the frame of the relationship. So here's the shift. Express appreciation instead of dependency. Replace fear of loss with gratitude for presence. It's not, "I couldn't live without you." It's, "I'm grateful every day that you choose to be here." One communicates weakness, the other communicates strength and value. If you're ready to let go of dependency and stand in your own strength, drop this in the comments. I choose, not cling. Because when you live by that principle, you stop making love about survival and start making it about connection, respect, and desire. Now, the next phrase we'll talk about seems like it should build trust, but it actually plants seeds of doubt and slowly pushes her away without you realizing it. Number 5. I'll do anything to make you happy. At first, it sounds noble, selfless, romantic. You care about her happiness so much you're willing to do anything for it. But here's the hidden problem that one sentence tells her: you're willing to erase your own needs, your own values, even your own identity just to please her. When a man says, "I'll do anything to make you happy," it often comes from a place of wanting to secure love, keep the peace, or prevent loss. But in reality, it sets up a dangerous precedent. It tells her there are no boundaries, no standards, and no line you won't cross to keep her satisfied. And ironically, that doesn't make her feel more love or respect, it makes her feel less of both. Let's bring this into a real scenario. David, 45, had been dating Melissa, 41, for about a year. Melissa would often cancel plans last minute, flirt with other men in social settings, and test David's patience with subtle jabs about his work and lifestyle. Instead of addressing it directly, David's response was always the same: "I just want you to be happy. I'll do whatever it takes." To him, this was proof of devotion. To her, it was proof he wouldn't stand up for himself. And the more she saw that, the more she lost respect and with it, attraction. Here's the truth. Real attraction is rooted in mutual respect, and respect only exists when both people have clear boundaries. If you're willing to do anything to make her happy, it means her happiness takes priority over your dignity, your peace, and even your moral compass. That's not romance, that's self-erasure. From a Stoic perspective, this is a form of emotional slavery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A Stoic man understands he cannot control another person's happiness, nor should he try. Happiness is her responsibility, just as your happiness is yours. When you make her happiness your mission, you set yourself up for failure because emotions are fluid. What pleases her today might not please her tomorrow. And when you inevitably can't meet her every desire, she'll not only feel dissatisfied, she may even blame you for it. The healthy alternative is to care deeply about her well-being while maintaining your own center. Instead of saying, "I'll do anything to make you happy," say, "I want us both to be happy, and I'm willing to work on that together." That statement still communicates care, but it also makes it clear that your needs matter too. If you've ever been in David's position, you know how quickly doing anything can slide into doing everything, even things that compromise your values. At first, Melissa enjoyed the control, but over time, she felt bored, even resentful. Why? Because challenge is part of attraction. And when a man has no boundaries, there's no challenge, no edge, no polarity. Women are drawn to men who can love them deeply without losing themselves in the process. A man who says no when something crosses the line. A man who understands that love isn't about servitude, it's about partnership. So here's your takeaway. Stop promising anything. Start standing for something. Your values, your integrity, and your self-respect are the very things that drew her to you in the first place. Protect them. If you've ever caught yourself sacrificing too much just to keep her happy, write this in the comments. I protect my boundaries. Because the man who protects his boundaries doesn't have to beg for respect, he naturally commands it. Now, the next phrase is one that sounds exclusive and romantic, but can quietly suffocate the relationship before it has a chance to grow. Number 6. You're the only one I want. On the surface, this sounds exclusive and romantic. It's the kind of line that could make sense in a love song or during a dramatic movie moment. But when you drop this in real life, especially early in a relationship or without the right frame, it can do the opposite of what you intend. Why? Because when you tell someone, "You're the only one I want," you're handing them the entire balance of power. You're revealing that you have no other options, no alternatives, and no intention of walking away no matter what they do. And in the realm of attraction, certainty can be the enemy. Human nature, for both men and women, is wired to value what has to be earned. The moment it feels like someone's total devotion is guaranteed, the subconscious mind can interpret it as less valuable. It's not about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about maintaining the natural tension that keeps desire alive. From a Stoic perspective, there's another layer to this. Epictetus said, "Never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it. Personal merit cannot be derived from an external source." When you say, "You're the only one I want," you're basing your sense of romantic fulfillment on her existence, not on your own self-worth. It places your emotional stability in her hands, and that's never a strong position to be in. The better mindset is this: you choose her, but you don't need her to define your life. There's a massive difference between "I'm choosing you because you're special to me" and "I'm choosing you because without you, I have nothing." The first is attractive because it's rooted in abundance. You could have other options, but you prefer her. The second feels suffocating because it's rooted in scarcity. You're holding on because you fear you can't do better. Another subtle danger with this phrase is that it can make you overlook red flags. If you've already declared she's the only one you want, You might unconsciously excuse bad behavior, disrespect, or incompatibility just to keep the narrative alive. That's not love. That's attachment mixed with self-deception. This doesn't mean you have to be cold or distant. You can show commitment without overcommitting your identity. Instead of saying, "You're the only one I want," you can express value in a way that still preserves your frame. "I'm happy with the choice I'm making to be with you," or "I enjoy what we have, and I'm interested in seeing where it goes." These statements are grounded, confident, and leave room for natural growth instead of clinging. Think about it like the difference between a contract and a gift. A contract says, "I'm locked in no matter what." A gift says, "I choose to give this because I want to, not because I have to." One creates pressure, the other inspires appreciation. If you're committed to building attraction and respect that last, you have to protect your frame while giving your affection. And that means avoiding phrases that remove all sense of earned value. Women respect men who can love them deeply, but will also walk away if respect is lost. That isn't cold. It's the foundation of healthy boundaries. So the next time you're tempted to make a sweeping statement like this, pause and ask yourself, am I saying this to express connection or to secure it out of fear? That single moment of self-check can keep you from handing away all your power in one sentence. If you get this, write it in the comments. I choose from strength. Because when you live from that position, love becomes a choice, not a dependency, and that's what keeps attraction alive. Now, the next phrase is even more emotionally loaded, and while it sounds deeply romantic, it actually tells her that your very survival depends on her presence. Number 7, I can't live without you. This one sounds intense, dramatic, and in movies it's often delivered with the perfect background music. But in real life, it's a heavy, suffocating statement that sends all the wrong signals. When a man says, "I can't live without you," what he's really communicating, often without realizing it, is that his emotional stability, his identity, and even his purpose depend entirely on another person. And for most women, that's not romantic, it's pressure. Let's put this into a real-world frame. Mark, 48, had been dating Jennifer, 44, for about 8 months. Things were good at first, fun dates, genuine chemistry, late-night talks. But then, whenever Jennifer pulled back a little or got busy with her own life, Mark would panic. He'd send long texts saying, "You mean everything to me. I can't live without you." At first, she felt flattered, but soon the weight of those words made her feel responsible for his happiness. That's when her attraction started to fade. Here's the problem: if your ability to feel whole depends on someone else, you're no longer in a relationship of mutual choice. You're in a relationship of emotional dependency. And that's a dangerous position because it removes your power and adds constant pressure on her to keep you okay. From a Stoic perspective, this thinking goes against the core principle of self-reliance. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If you believe you can't live without another person, you're admitting you've surrendered mastery of yourself. True love isn't about merging into one fragile existence. It's about two complete people choosing to share their lives, not needing each other to survive, but wanting each other to thrive. This doesn't mean you can't express care or say that someone is deeply important to you. The difference lies in how you frame it. Instead of saying, "I can't live without you," you could say, "You make my life richer." That communicates appreciation without making it sound like your entire existence is at stake. Women, especially high-value women, are drawn to men who can stand on their own, even when they're in love. Why? Because it signals strength, emotional maturity, and the ability to lead yourself. And the paradox is, when she knows you can live without her, she's far more likely to want to stay. Mark eventually realized this. He stopped sending panic-driven messages and started focusing on rebuilding his own life, outside the relationship, hobbies, friendships, and fitness. Ironically, As he became less dependent, Jennifer started leaning back in. His independence made him magnetic again. So, here's the takeaway. Love should enhance your life, not be the condition for it. The moment you make someone the air you breathe, you put both of you in a fragile, high-pressure space that's almost impossible to sustain. If you've ever caught yourself feeling this way, type it in the comments. I am whole on my own. Because when you live from that truth, you're not just more attractive, you're free. And a free man is the kind of man women never want to lose. The next phrase might sound like harmless honesty, but it quietly erodes the respect that keeps attraction alive. Number 8. You complete me. It's one of the most famous romantic lines of all time, made iconic by a Hollywood movie. But in real life, telling someone, "You complete me," can have a very different effect than you think. While it sounds poetic, what it often signals is that you see yourself as incomplete, and that the other person is the missing piece that makes you whole. Here's the problem. Attraction thrives on strength, not on neediness. When you tell a woman she completes you, you're admitting that without her, you're somehow unfinished or lacking. This creates an uneven dynamic, where you place her in a position of power over your emotional state and even your identity. And while it might sound sweet at first, over time, it can feel like a burden for her to constantly be the source of your wholeness. From a Stoic perspective, this thinking is deeply flawed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." What he meant is that your sense of completeness must come from within, from mastering your own mind and living in alignment with your values, not from someone else's presence. When you base your sense of being complete on another person, you're effectively outsourcing your happiness. That's risky because people change, circumstances change, and relationships evolve. If your wholeness depends on someone else, you're vulnerable to losing your sense of self if the relationship shifts. A more powerful approach is to see yourself as already complete and to choose to share that completeness with someone else. Instead of saying, "You complete me," you could say, "You add so much to my life," or "Life is great on my own, but I love what we create together." These phrases express deep appreciation while still showing that you stand strong on your own 2 feet. Women, especially confident, high-value women, respect men who have their own center of gravity. When you radiate the message that you're whole and self-sufficient, your connection becomes a choice, not a dependency. And paradoxically, that's what makes your bond stronger. So, while the movies might make "You complete me" sound like the ultimate declaration of love, the reality is that it places you in a position of emotional weakness. True connection comes from 2 complete people walking side by side, not from one person trying to fill the gaps in the other. If this resonates with you, drop it in the comments. I am already whole. The next phrase seems harmless, but it quietly tips the balance of power in a way that makes attraction fade fast. Number 9. I need you more than you need me. At first, this might sound like vulnerability, like you're just being honest about how much someone means to you. But the truth is, this phrase puts you at a serious disadvantage in any relationship. It's not just admitting that you care more, it's openly ranking yourself lower in the dynamic. And once you've told someone they hold more power than you, it's hard to get that power back. Let's ground this in a real example. David, 42, had been dating Michelle, 39, for 6 months. Things were going well until a small disagreement made Michelle pull back for a week. In a moment of anxiety, David told her, "I know I need you more than you need me." He thought this would show devotion and commitment. Instead, Michelle's energy shifted. She became less responsive, more distant. Why? Because he'd just told her she was the prize and he was chasing, and deep down, attraction fades when the chase becomes one-sided. From a psychological standpoint, people value what they see as rare and confident. When you tell someone you need them more than they need you, you remove the equality from the relationship. It's no longer two people meeting each other as equals, it's one person clinging harder, hoping the other chooses to stay. The Stoics understood this imbalance. Seneca wrote, "The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach." Translation, your peace, strength and worth should come from within, not from how much someone else values you. When you operate from that truth, you approach relationships as a man who chooses rather than a man who clings. A better way to communicate care without tipping the scales is to focus on shared connection. Instead of saying, "I need you more than you need me," you could say, "I value what we have, and I choose to keep building it." This keeps you in a position of mutual respect and shared investment rather than imbalance. David eventually learned this. He stopped measuring who needed who more, and instead focused on living fully, his career, his fitness, his friendships. Ironically, Michelle's interest reignited once she saw he wasn't dependent on her for his identity. If you've ever felt tempted to say those words, remember this: attraction is built on respect and balance. The moment you tip it too far in her favor, you create a dynamic where she's the sun and you're just orbiting around her. That's not a relationship, that's dependency. If you agree, type it in the comments. I stand as an equal. Because when you show up that way, you're not just more attractive, you're impossible to replace. Number 10. You're my whole world. On the surface, this sounds like the ultimate romantic declaration. You're telling her she means everything to you, that your life revolves entirely around her. Movies make it seem powerful, but in reality, it's one of the quickest ways to make a woman feel overwhelmed and eventually less attracted. Here's why. When you say, "You're my whole world," you're announcing that your identity, happiness and purpose are tied entirely to her. While that might feel flattering at first, over time it can feel like pressure, as if she has to constantly meet your emotional needs or else your entire world falls apart. Relationships thrive when two people bring their own rich, fulfilling lives to the table, not when one person abandons their own life to orbit around the other. Think about it. If your world is just one person, what happens if they change, grow in a different direction, or even leave? You're left with nothing because you've built your entire identity on someone else. That's not love. That's dependency dressed up in romance. The Stoics would see this as a dangerous attachment. Epictetus taught that the only things truly within our control are our own actions and choices. The moment you hand over control of your happiness to another person, you've given away your freedom. And freedom is essential to attraction, both yours and hers. High-value women are drawn to men with purpose. They're interested in men who have passions, goals, and a sense of meaning that exists outside of the relationship. When you say, "You're my whole world," you're telling her there's nothing else in your life that excites or fulfills you. That doesn't make her feel special, it makes her feel responsible for carrying all of your joy on her shoulders. Instead of making her the entire world, make her an important part of a bigger, vibrant life. Let her see that you have your own ambitions, your own friends, your own adventures, and that she adds to all of that in a way that makes life richer. That's the kind of dynamic that keeps attraction alive, because she knows you're with her by choice, not by need. So yes, tell her she matters, show her she's valued, but also show her you have your own life that you're proud of, one that she gets to share in, not completely define. That's how you create a relationship that's strong, balanced, and built to last. Because the truth is, no one person should be your whole world. Your world should be big enough for both of you to thrive. And there you have it, 10 phrases that might seem harmless, even romantic, but quietly chip away at your attraction and your power in a relationship. If you caught yourself thinking, "I've said that before," don't beat yourself up. Most men have. What matters is what you do from here on out. Start speaking and acting from a place of self-respect, emotional strength, and purpose. When you do, you'll notice not only how women respond to you, but how much more confident you feel in every part of your life. If this video gave you value, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss tomorrow's lesson. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay strong.